Alright guys, let's go through all the steps in order to get your PLC talking to your computer. I've done a previous video on the S7-1200 and this will be for the S7-1214. This is the PLC that you get with Siemens through Siemens Cooperates with Education. So we're going to set up a PLC and an analog card together, so it's a little bit different steps. So new video. Okay, so first thing we're going to open up TAA portal. And once we've got this guy opened up, then we're going to go over to create a new project. So we click on this guy right here. And if you follow through in the write-up, it's saying to name it something like base PLC program. So whatever works for you. But if you call it base PLC program, you'll be able to find it easily. You'll be able to save it to your USB stick and then bring this up, and you won't have to do all these configurations each time. You'll be set, all the configurations will be done for the PLC and for the analog card, and you can just get right to programming. So I already have a number of these that I've been working on, so I'll say test B or something like that. So something generic here so you can find it. Okay, once you've done that, then click on create. This takes a little bit of time. While this is setting up, then make sure that your PLC is plugged in and you have an Ethernet cable going from your PLC either to your network or from your computer straight to the PLC trainer. Okay, once this is set up, then it looks like we have a little bit, oh, and I think we're good. We've clicked on create. We need to configure a device. So right here, I thought it was a different screen, but we're good. So configure a device is right here. Okay, and then if we scroll down, then we're supposed to click on add a new device. So let's click on this guy right here. Okay, now you can see with this program here, this does the PLCs, the HMIs, and then computers as well. And then if you had drives, there's another program that can add to this, so you can do your drive configurations as well. But we're doing the PLCs for now, so we're going to click on this guy. That brings up a number of different PLCs that we can work with. So this program, we're set right now, the way that we've purchased it, sets up with the 1200, 1500, 300, 400. So we are using a variation of the 1200. We're going to keep clicking down to CPU, and there's all these different types of CPUs. Now on the front face of the trainer, you may see that it says 1214, but we're not sure exactly which one it is. So I want you to go down to unspecified CPU and then click on this bad boy right here. Okay, once you're done that, then what we're going to do is we're going to click on add. So it looks like because my screen is smaller, I have to scroll over, but right here in the right hand corner, bottom right hand corner, you should say add. So we'll click on this guy. And as you do this, then you don't have to know exactly which PLC you have in front of you. It will tone out, find the PLC that is there, and then come back with the configuration that it's found. Sweet. Okay, so I said I love this option. After clicking on detect, program will go out and determine exactly which PLC and expansion cards are connected to. But what we need to do is we need to detect it. So right here or right here, we're going to click on detect and it'll find the configuration of a connected device. Right now we just have a generic image of a PLC, but once we hit connect or detect, then it should be able to tone out and find exactly what is connected to our computer. Okay, next steps are that we are using Profinet and the interface. Let's see if we can find an Ethernet connection right here. Okay, so you can see that previously I was using my Surface Pro, so that was the Ethernet adapter. This is a different Ethernet connection, but just look for the Ethernet connection and then start the search. And it will go out as long as your Ethernet is enabled. If it's not enabled, then call your instructor over and he'll reset the Ethernet for you. Okay, so it looks like it's found a PLC here. So it's found a 1214 AC-DC relay connected to our computer. And previous students have already set up, or maybe this is just myself, I use the same address all the way through, 192.168.0.10. That way it doesn't matter which PLC you pick up, it'll always have the same address and you should be able to drop your program on. Later on in the course we may get into networking, but I find it easier to just start with every PLC just with an Ethernet cable from the computer to the PLC, not really connected to the network, and everybody has the exact same IP address. We're not connected to the internet, so we don't have any problems having the same IP address for every different PLC or HMI, but this, I find, simplifies things. Okay, once we've done that, then we can click on Flash LED, and what I'll do is I'll just do a picture-in-picture here, but you should see that once we hit that Flash LED, that right below the Siemens logo, the lights on the PLC are now flashing at you. So now you know that you're actually talking to the PLC that is beside you. Okay, excellent. We'll stop that from flashing. And what's our next step? Next step is to hit detect. Okay, so we're going to hit detect. Okay, so we'll select this bad boy right here. We'll try and detect it. So you can see why you want to save this as your base PLC program, because this takes a little bit of time to set up. But I have every class do this configuration just so you can see exactly how everything is set up, so that if you make a mistake or change any of these things, then you know how to go back and change them. Okay, so now you can see that everything is set up here. On some computers, you will have this. You may be asked to assign a new IP address to your PLC, right? So just click yes, and it will usually give you this one, 192.168.0.241. So that's perfectly fine. We can move on from there. In this case, I didn't have to do that. I was already on the same subnet as my computer. Okay, once we see this guy, then you may want to scale to 400%. So we're going to click on this guy. Hello. Okay, go to 400%, and then we're just going to scroll over. This is super slow. If you try to use this, then, oh, that's actually not too bad. Sometimes it like flies through and you miss the actual PLC. Okay, so here you can see all of our inputs and all of our outputs. This one has an additional analog card on the front here. And we have an analog card over here. So analog inputs and 2 analog outputs here as well. These are the LEDs that we just saw chirping at us. And let's see what our next step is. So again, if you're doing this with the 1200, then you've got you've got this one right here for that starter kit. For us, we're now using the 1214C AC/DC relay, and the analog card that comes with this guy is the SM-1234 analog input and analog output. But everything is already set up here. Okay, so let's keep scrolling down. Next thing we're going to do is going to go to the Ethernet port of the PLC. Now, we already saw that this one had the appropriate Ethernet IP, but let's just double check it. So we're going to click on this guy. Okay, and then below, let's see if I can bring up these. There we go. So if you didn't see what I did there, then I grabbed this line right here. It was way down here. So I hovered over here until I saw that image right there. See that? And I grabbed it by holding down the left mouse key and brought it up so I could actually see things. It's now uncompiled. I'm going over to Properties, and then I should be able to see the same as the instructions here. So we're going to Ethernet addresses here. Okay, and then what I want you to do is just confirm that this is the IP that you're using, 192.168.0.10. At some point, again, we may end up connecting these PLCs to the network, and then each individual PLC is going to have its own IP address, but for now, we're having the exact same IP address. Okay, the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. We are not using a router, but if you were doing this at home, then you may have to make use of a router. But right now, we're connected up to a switch. The trainer comes with an Ethernet switch, and so we won't need to make use of a router. Okay, so now that we've done that, then we can then, these are just the steps in order to make sure that it matches with our computer. So if you wanted to do that, you could go to command prompt, right? So for that, you just do a search here for command prompt. And then this guy comes up, and then you just do IP config. So this is just showing that we're on the same subnet. So there's there's that IP address 192.168.0.241, and we're just making sure that we're on the same subnet as our computer. Okay, so once that is done, then we're cool, and we know that, the main thing is just that these three digits right here, 192.168.0, are matching with what you see right here, and that the subnet mask as well is the same as the computer. And then we should be able to talk to it. Okay, once we've done that, then we can move on. The other thing that you may run into is that if you're not able to talk to your PLC, let me see if I can find that. So let's see, if you just put Ethernet settings, let's see what this comes up with. So just move this over, give me 2 seconds. So if your Ethernet is not working and that you are not able to talk to your PLC, you can go to change adapter setting options. And then what you can do is you can disable and then enable your Ethernet, right? So you disable it. I've already talking to my PLC, so I don't want to do this, but you hit disable, then you click on it again, you hit enable. That will re-enable the Ethernet, and then you should be able to talk to your PLC. Okay, so hopefully everything's working out for you so far. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to collapse this window right here. So we can collapse it right there. We're going to right click on the PLC, and we're going to download to device, and we're going to download the hardware configuration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this guy right here, and then I'm scrolling down, and I'm going to go to download to the device, and I'm going to download the hardware configuration. The other way you can do that is you can come over here and you can click on the PLC. You can right click, I believe, on that guy, and then go down and go to download, and then download the hardware configuration. And everything we've just set up we'll be able to send over to the PLC. Okay, that's coming in. So our next thing is that, again, we're going to use Profinet. Then we're going to use whatever Ethernet connection that we have there. Mine doesn't give the option here, but you may have one other option here. Just call your instructor over if there's any questions. And we're going to start a search again. Okay, looks like it's going out. Okay, it's found that PLC there. Excellent. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit load. So we're going to select that PLC and hit load. Okay, and then this isn't as, like, you can't see this as well, right? Because it's kind of muted out. So you can stop anything that was running before and hit load. So right now I am on this step right here. So hit load. So it's stopping the PLC from whatever program was running there. And then this is key as well. I'll show you another way you can turn on the PLC or start it up. But again, it doesn't look like that's an option there because it didn't have the drop-down menu. But if it is like this, no action, then just go to start module. That way that your PLC will actually start up once you've finished dropping your program on there. Excellent. Okay, and if we look down, then we should see 0 errors and 0 warnings. Beautiful. Okay, we've done quite a few steps here, so let's save the project. And again, next class, when you come in, then bring a USB stick in, because there's a number of different students who use these computers. So if you save to a USB and just do a backup, then you don't have to go through all these steps again. Okay, let's see what our next step is. Where are my Siemens TA portals stored in the computer? So at the moment, we have everything set up in order to talk to our PLCs. Okay, so I think I'll stop there, and then for the next video, I'll just show you where everything is stored on the computer. And then at any time, you can come in, take your USB stick, and then drop it onto the program onto your USB stick, and then you have a backup. Especially if you've been working on something for like 4 hours, that would suck if somebody came in and wiped it out for you. But right now, we have everything set up. in that we have now dropped our hardware configuration for both our PLC and for our analog card. This guy right here. So that is already onto the PLC. If we go to devices and networks, then we can see there's our PLC and everything is set. And that we've sent our IP address and all of our hardware configuration over to the PLC and we are ready to rock. We have now saved this as our base PLC program, and we will bring this program up every time that we come into class because we're going to build on this guy. So it doesn't matter what we do in each class, we can always go back to this base PLC program and we don't have to worry about tags or anything like that. Like if I go to PLC tags and show all tags, nothing's set. If I go to program blocks and go to main OB1, then there's nothing in my main organizational block. So it's like a fresh slate that you can start with every time that you come into class. Okay, keep going with the playlist and I'll show you where your programs are actually stored.